1. We're diving into a classic beauty that's up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1967 Ford Fairlane convertible. This ride is a real head-turner with its sleek lines and vintage charm. The seller is asking $12,500 for this gem, and from what they've shared, it seems like a pretty sweet deal. Now let's talk about the condition. The seller mentions that the car is rust-free, which is a huge plus for a vehicle of this age. However, they do note that the paint is faded, so you might want to consider giving it a fresh coat to really make it shine. The convertible top also needs replacing, but hey, that's just an opportunity to put your own personal touch on this classic. Under the hood, you'll find a 289 cubic inch V8 engine paired with an automatic transmission. The seller doesn't mention anything about the mechanical condition, so it's always a good idea to have a trusted mechanic check it out before making a final decision. The odometer shows 100,000 miles, but here's the thing, it's rolled over. That means this car has likely seen a lot more than 100,000 miles in its lifetime. But don't let that deter you. With proper care and maintenance, these old Fords can keep on cruising for many more miles to come. The seller is open to trades, so if you've got something interesting to offer, it might be worth starting a conversation. Just keep in mind that the price is set at $12,500, so you'll want to make sure your trade is of comparable value. Overall, this 1967 Ford Fairlane convertible seems like a solid choice for anyone looking to add a classic to their collection. It's got a clean title, a rust-free body, and a V8 engine that's ready to rumble. Sure, it might need a little TLC here and there, but that's all part of the fun of owning a vintage ride. As always, be sure to do your due diligence before making any big purchases. Check out the car in person, bring along a knowledgeable friend or mechanic, and trust your gut. If everything checks out, you might just find yourself cruising down the road in this sweet 67 Fairlane, turning heads and making memories along the way. 2. We've got a real treat for you. A 1964 Plymouth Valiant that's just begging for a new home. This classic beauty is up for grabs on Craigslist, and the seller is asking $12,000 for the keys. Now let's dive into the details. The seller describes the condition as fair, which means it's not perfect, but it's not a complete basket case either. This Valiant has been sitting for a few years, so it might need some TLC to get it back on the road. But hey, that's all part of the fun of owning a classic car, right? Under the hood, you'll find a 318 cubic inch V8 motor, which should provide plenty of power for cruising down the highway or hitting the local car shows. The transmission is an automatic, so you won't have to worry about rowing your own gears. The odometer shows 81,216 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age. However, it's always a good idea to verify the mileage and check for any signs of tampering or odometer rollback. One of the biggest selling points of this Valiant is the fact that it's a convertible. There's nothing quite like dropping the top and feeling the wind in your hair as you cruise down the road. The seller doesn't mention anything about the condition of the convertible top, so that's definitely something you'll want to check out in person. The paint color is listed as red, which is a classic choice for a car like this. However, the seller doesn't provide any photos, so it's hard to say what kind of shape the paint is in. If you're serious about this car, you'll definitely want to see it in person to get a better idea of the overall condition. The seller mentions that the car has new tires, which is a big plus. Tires can be expensive, so it's nice to know that you won't have to shell out extra cash right away to get this baby back on the road. Overall, this 1964 Plymouth Valiant convertible seems like a solid project car for someone who loves classic automobiles. It's got a clean title, a V8 engine, and the potential to be a real head-turner once it's been restored. The asking price of $12,000 might seem a bit steep for a car that needs work, but the seller does describe it as a good restoration project. 3. We've got a real gem for you. A 1976 Oldsmobile Cutlass that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This beauty is being offered for sale on Craigslist, and the seller is asking $13,000 for the privilege of calling it your own. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of what makes this Cutlass so special. First off, the seller mentions that the car runs, drives, and looks excellent. That's a big plus in our book, as it means you won't have to sink a ton of money into it right off the bat. The odometer shows just 80,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age. One of the biggest selling points of this Cutlass is the ice-cold AC. If you've ever driven a classic car in the summer, you know how important it is to have a functioning air conditioning system. The seller also notes that the car has a solid undercarriage, which is crucial for any vehicle that's been around for a few decades. The paint is described as excellent, and the interior is said to be super clean. That's a testament to the care and attention that the previous owners have given to this car over the years. Under the hood, you'll find a 350 Oldsmobile engine paired with a TH350 transmission. That's a classic combo that should provide plenty of power and reliability. The seller also mentions that the car has good tires and rims, which is always a plus. And here's the best part. The seller specifically states that this is a nice southern car with no hurricane or flood damage. That's a huge relief for anyone who's been burned by a flood-damaged vehicle in the past. The title is clean, which means you won't have to worry about any legal issues or hidden problems. However, it's worth noting that the seller is firm on the price of $12,195, which includes tax, title, and registration. They also state that they won't offer financing or accept any trades, so you'll need to have the cash on hand if you want to make this beauty your own. Overall, this 1976 Oldsmobile Cutlass seems like a solid choice for anyone who loves classic cars. It's got a clean title, low mileage, and a ton of desirable features like cold AC and a solid undercarriage. The price might seem a bit steep, but for a car of this caliber, it's not unreasonable. 4. We've got a real treat for you. A rare and stunning 1970 Mercury Cougar convertible that's looking for a new home. This beauty is being offered for sale on Craigslist, and the seller is asking $15,000 for the chance to own a piece of automotive history. Now let's dive into what makes this Cougar so special. First off, the seller mentions that this particular model is one of only 2,222 units ever produced. That's a seriously low number, which means you're not likely to see another one of these at your local car show. Under the hood, you'll find a 351 Cleveland engine, which is known for its power and reliability. The seller states that the car runs and drives well, which is always a good sign. They also mention that the car has been kept in very good condition and has been garage kept, which is music to any car enthusiast's ears. In 2019, the car received a new vinyl top, which is a big plus. The seller also lists a ton of other new parts, including a Holley carburetor, suspension components, brakes, carpet, and more. It's clear that someone has put a lot of time and effort into keeping this Cougar in top shape. Of course, no car is perfect, and the seller does mention a few things that need fixing. The left turn signal isn't working, and the instrument cluster needs to be replaced, although the parts are included. The car also needs some paint and overall TLC, but that's to be expected with a vehicle of this age. The odometer has stopped at 60,000 miles, but the seller is confident that the car has less than 80,000 miles on it. They're also open to a third-party inspection at any local shop, which is a great sign of transparency. The seller includes a Marty report, which is a detailed document that provides a ton of information about the car's history and specifications. This is a huge plus for anyone who's serious about buying a classic car. Unfortunately, the seller has to part with this beauty because they're moving and can't take it with them. That means you've got a chance to snap up a rare and well-maintained Cougar at a reasonable price. Overall, this 1970 Mercury Cougar convertible seems like a fantastic opportunity for anyone who loves classic cars. It's got a clean title, a powerful engine, and a ton of new parts. Sure, it needs a little bit of work here and there, but that's all part of the fun of owning a vintage ride. 5. We've got a real gem for you. A 1963 Dodge Dart that's sure to get your heart racing. This beauty is being offered for sale on Craigslist, and the seller is asking $14,400 or best offer for the chance to own a piece of American muscle car history. Now let's get into the details of what makes this Dart so special. First off, the seller mentions that the car has no rust, which is a huge plus for any classic car. Rust can be a real killer when it comes to these old beauties, so it's great to know that this one has been well preserved. But the real star of the show here is what's under the hood. The seller has dropped in a brand new crate 408 stroker engine with less than 200 miles on it. For those who aren't familiar, a stroker engine is one that's been modified to increase the displacement and, in turn, the power output. And with only 200 miles on it, you can bet that this engine is just getting broken in. To handle all that extra power, the seller has also installed a brand new Street Fighter transmission. This automatic transmission is built to handle high-performance applications, so you won't have to worry about it slipping or failing under pressure. The seller doesn't mention much about the interior or exterior of the car, but they do emphasize that this is a fast car. With that stroker engine and performance transmission, we have no doubt that this Dart can hold its own on the street or the strip. The odometer shows 12,355 miles, but the seller notes that it has rolled over. That means the actual mileage is likely much higher, but without more information, it's hard to say for sure. However, with that new engine and transmission, the mileage may not be as much of a concern. The seller is open to trades, which could be a great option if you've got something interesting to offer. And if you're not local to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where the car is located, you'll want to factor in the cost of transportation when considering the price. Overall, this 1963 Dodge Dart seems like a fantastic opportunity for anyone who loves classic muscle cars. It's got a clean title, a brand new engine and transmission, and no rust. The price of $14,400 might seem a bit steep for a car of this age, but when you consider the modifications and the potential for serious speed, it starts to look like a pretty good deal. As always, be sure to do your due diligence before making any big purchases. Check out the car in person, bring along a knowledgeable friend or mechanic, and don't be afraid to ask questions. 6. We've got a real treat for you. A stunning 1984 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz convertible that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This beauty is being offered for sale on Craigslist, and the seller is asking $14,500 for the privilege of calling it your own. Now, let's dive into what makes this Eldorado so special. First off, the seller mentions that the car is in excellent condition, which is always a great sign. With only 49,000 miles on the odometer, this Cadillac has been sparingly used and well maintained over the years. The color combination on this Eldorado is absolutely stunning. It's finished in a crisp white exterior with a matching white convertible top, which is sure to make a statement wherever you go. But the real showstopper here is the lipstick red leather interior. It's a bold and luxurious choice that perfectly complements the exterior and screams classic Cadillac style. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine that's ready to hit the road. The seller mentions that the car has a new battery and fresh oil, so you won't have to worry about any immediate maintenance issues. And with Vogue tires and a parade boot, this Eldorado is ready for any occasion, whether it's a leisurely cruise or a special event. One of the coolest features of this Cadillac is the factory antenna, which still works perfectly. It's a small detail, but it's a testament to the level of care and preservation that this car has received over the years. The seller mentions that they are liquidating and downsizing their collection, which means this Eldorado is looking for a new home. And with a clean title and a history of being garage kept in New Jersey, you can feel confident that you're getting a quality vehicle. Overall, this 1984 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz convertible seems like a fantastic opportunity for anyone who loves classic luxury cars. It's got low mileage, a stunning color combination, and a ton of desirable features. The price of $14,500 might seem a bit steep for a car of this age, but when you consider the excellent condition and the rarity of a well-preserved Eldorado convertible, it starts to look like a pretty good deal. As always, be sure to do your due diligence before making any big purchases. Check out the car in person, bring along a knowledgeable friend or mechanic, and don't be afraid to ask questions. If everything checks out, you might just find yourself cruising down the road in this classic Cadillac, turning heads and soaking up the sun with the top down. 7. We've got a real blast from the past for you, a 1977 Pontiac Bonneville that's looking for a new home. This classic beauty is being offered for sale on Craigslist, and the seller is asking just $4,000 for the chance to own a piece of American automotive history. Now, let's get into the details of what makes this Bonneville so special. First off, the seller mentions that this is a one-owner car that has been garaged its entire life. That's a huge plus when it comes to classic cars, as it means the vehicle has likely been well maintained and protected from the elements. The seller also notes that the car is solid with no rust, which is always a great sign. Rust can be a real problem with older vehicles, so it's fantastic to know that this Bonneville has been spared from that fate. Under the hood, you'll find a 301 V8 engine that the seller says runs perfectly. That's a testament to the level of care and maintenance this car has received over the years. And with a cold air conditioner, you'll be able to stay cool and comfortable even on the hottest summer days. The seller mentions that the car has a new master cylinder and recent tires and battery, which means you won't have to worry about any immediate maintenance issues. And with seats and interior in excellent condition, you'll be able to enjoy the classic styling of this Bonneville in comfort. Perhaps the most impressive thing about this car is the mileage, just 90,000 miles on the odometer. For a vehicle that's over 40 years old, that's incredibly low mileage. It's a sign that this Bonneville has been cherished and well cared for throughout its life. The seller says that you can drive this car anywhere with confidence, which is a great endorsement of its reliability and roadworthiness. And with a clean title, you won't have to worry about any legal or ownership issues. Overall, this 1977 Pontiac Bonneville seems like a fantastic opportunity for anyone who loves classic American cars. It's got low mileage, a solid body, and a ton of desirable features. The price of $4,000 might seem a bit steep for a car of this age, but when you consider the excellent condition and the rarity of a well-preserved Bonneville, it starts to look like a pretty good deal. 8. We've got a real gem for you, a 1974 Pontiac GTO that's been given a new lease on life. This classic muscle car is being offered for sale on Craigslist, and the seller is asking $12,000 for the chance to own a piece of American automotive history. Now, let's dive into what makes this GTO so special. First off, the seller has done a ton of work to this car, starting with the engine. They've dropped in a 1969 GTO motor that's been rebuilt with some upgrades, and it's got less than 300 miles on it. That means you're getting a fresh, powerful engine that's ready to roar. The seller has also upgraded a bunch of other components, including the brakes, fuel system, ignition system, wheels and tires, exhaust system with long tube headers, starter, and alternator. With all these new parts, you can bet that this GTO runs and drives like a dream. The seller even says that you can drive this car anywhere, which is a testament to the level of work and care that's gone into it. And with a 342 Posey 10-bolt rear end, you'll have plenty of traction and power to get you where you need to go. Of course, no car is perfect, and the seller does mention that there's still some rust repair needed. There's a small area on the floor and fender that needs attention, and the trunk patches that were done to attach new fuel tank brackets weren't done by a pro. But these are relatively minor issues that can be addressed over time. The seller is upfront about the fact that this is a project car, but it's a running and driving project car. That means you can enjoy it while you work on it, which is always a plus in our book. The paint color is listed as red, which is a classic choice for a muscle car like this. And with a clean title and just 64,000 miles on the odometer, you can feel confident that you're getting a solid vehicle with plenty of life left in it. Overall, this 1974 Pontiac GTO seems like a fantastic opportunity for anyone who loves classic muscle cars. It's got a ton of new parts, a powerful engine, and a clean title. The price of $12,000 might seem a bit steep for a project car, but when you consider the level of work that's already been done and the potential for even more upgrades, it starts to look like a pretty good deal. 9. We've got an incredibly rare find for you. A 1985 Buick LeSabre Limited Collection Edition 2-door coupe that's been cherished by a single owner since it was purchased new. This classic beauty is being offered for sale on Craigslist, and the seller is asking $9,500 for the chance to own a piece of American automotive history. Now let's get into the details of what makes this LeSabre so special. First off, The seller mentions that this car has just 65,000 miles on the odometer, which is incredibly low for a vehicle that's nearly 40 years old. That's a testament to the level of care and preservation that this car has received over the years. Under the hood, you'll find a 307 V8 engine that the seller says runs like a cream puff and drives smooth. That's exactly what you want to hear when you're considering a classic car like this. The seller also mentions that this LeSabre is fully loaded with all the bells and whistles you'd expect from a top-of-the-line model. That includes power seats, a power antenna that works perfectly, and a comfortable interior that the seller describes as being like sitting on a couch. One of the coolest things about this car is that it comes with all the original dealer collector books, a set of 4 uncut keys in a suede cover with a key ring, and the owner's manual. These kinds of extras are really rare to find with a classic car, and they add a ton of value and authenticity to the vehicle. The seller is even including a set of vintage New York license plates from the 1980s that are in near-perfect shape. That's a really cool touch that adds to the overall nostalgia and charm of this LeSabre. The body is all original and in good condition for a 39-year-old car, with the seller noting that it spent most of its life in a garage. The paint is also said to be in good shape, although there are a few minor things that need attention. The seller has made some recent upgrades to the car, including a new battery, new hood support shocks, and a new radiator to replace the original one that had a small leak. These kinds of updates are always a good sign when you're buying a classic car, as they show that the seller has been proactive about maintenance and repairs. Overall, this 1985 Buick LeSabre Limited Collection Edition Coupe seems like an incredible opportunity for anyone who loves rare and well-preserved classic cars. It's got low mileage, a ton of original extras, and a single owner history that's hard to beat. The price of $9,500 might seem a bit steep for a car of this age, but when you consider the rarity and condition of this LeSabre, it starts to look like a pretty good deal. 10. We're diving into a classic American icon, a 1967 Ford Mustang that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is packing a 289 V8 engine under the hood and comes with an automatic transmission, making it a blast to cruise around in. The seller mentions that it's been sitting for over 5 years, but the good news is that it still starts, runs, and drives. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. The seller is upfront about the fact that this Mustang has some rust issues and needs a new vinyl top. It's important to appreciate their honesty here, as it gives potential buyers a clear picture of what they're getting into. The interior is said to be in good shape overall, with just one rip in the driver's seat. Despite the rust and the need for some TLC, this '67 Mustang has a lot of potential. It comes with a clean title in hand, making it a great project car for someone who loves a good restoration challenge. The odometer shows 114,000 miles, which is not too shabby for a vehicle that's over 50 years old. The seller has the car located in Linwood and is asking $7,200 for it. While it's not a showroom-ready vehicle, it's priced fairly considering the work that needs to be done. For the right buyer who has the time, skills, and passion for bringing this classic back to its former glory, it could be a rewarding investment. In summary, this 1967 Ford Mustang 289 V8 is a project car that needs some work to address the rust and vinyl top issues. However, it runs and drives, has a clean title, and comes with an honest description from the seller. If you're up for the challenge and have been dreaming of owning a piece of American muscle car history, this could be the perfect opportunity to make that dream a reality. 11. Let's dive a little deeper into this 1959 Edsel Ranger, shall we? The Edsel brand was introduced by Ford Motor Company in 1958 as a premium, mid-range vehicle line. Despite the hype surrounding its launch, the Edsel brand struggled to find its footing in the market and was ultimately discontinued after just 3 model years. Today, Edsels are highly sought after by collectors due to their unique styling, rarity, and place in automotive history. This particular 1959 Edsel Ranger is a testament to the brand's distinctive design language. The front end features a prominent vertical grille that's unmistakably Edsel, flanked by 4 headlights, a styling cue that was ahead of its time. The rear of the car is equally eye-catching, with its boomerang taillights and chrome accents. The gray paint on this Ranger is said to be original, which is impressive considering the car's age. The fact that the upholstery, chrome, and stainless trim are all in great shape suggests that this car has been well cared for over the years. The interior of the Edsel Ranger is spacious and comfortable, with a bench seat up front and ample room for passengers in the rear. Under the hood, you'll find a V8 engine that's paired with an automatic transmission. While the seller mentions that the car needs some engine work, they also state that everything works, and the car has only been off the road for a year. This suggests that the engine issues may not be too severe, but it's still important to get a thorough inspection by a mechanic familiar with classic cars before making a purchase. The fact that the seller has a 1958 and 1960 Edsel Ranger listed as well indicates that they may be an Edsel enthusiast or collector. This could be a good sign, as it suggests that they have knowledge and appreciation for these unique vehicles. In conclusion, this 1959 Edsel Ranger is a rare opportunity to own a piece of automotive history. With its distinctive styling, original paint, and overall good condition, this car is sure to turn heads at any classic car show or cruise-in. While the engine work needed may be a concern for some buyers, it could also be an opportunity for a mechanically inclined enthusiast to put their own stamp on this classic ride. If you're interested in learning more about this Edsel Ranger, be sure to give the seller a call and arrange for a thorough inspection before making a decision. 12. We've got a real gem for you. A 1951 Studebaker Champion bullet-nose two-door sedan that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This unrestored beauty is a rare find, and it's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. Under the hood, you'll find an inline six-cylinder engine that's paired with a standard manual transmission. This combination provides a classic driving experience that's sure to put a smile on your face. The odometer shows just 67,165 miles, which is relatively low for a car that's over 70 years. The seller mentions that this Champion was a regular driver when it was parked, and it's been well protected under a carport and car tarp before being moved to an underground, well-ventilated garage. This suggests that the car has been cared for over the years, which is always a good sign when it comes to classic vehicles. Now, let's talk about the condition of this 1951 Studebaker Champion. The seller states that the car is in good condition overall, with an older light cream yellow paint job that gives it a charming vintage look. The windshield is said to be in good shape, and the trunk and frame are described as solid. However, the seller does mention that there is some rust on the lower inner trunk lid, which is something to keep in mind. It's important to note that this Studebaker Champion will need some work before it's ready to hit the road again. The seller mentions that the car needs new tires and a restoration. While the gas tank does hold fuel, it's always a good idea to have a thorough inspection done by a mechanic familiar with classic cars to ensure that there aren't any hidden issues. The asking price for this 1951 Studebaker Champion is $10,150, which seems fair considering its rarity and overall condition. The car comes with 2 keys, which is a nice bonus. In summary, this unrestored 1951 Studebaker Champion bullet-nose two-door sedan is a rare find that's sure to appeal to classic car enthusiasts. While it does need some work and a restoration, it appears to be in good condition overall and has been well cared for over the years. If you're looking for a unique vintage car to add to your collection or to use as a fun weekend driver, this Studebaker Champion is definitely worth considering. Just be sure to have it thoroughly inspected before making a final decision. 13. We've got a real treat for you, a stunning 1967 Cadillac two-door hardtop that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is a true icon of American luxury and style, and it's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 429 cubic inch V8 engine that's been professionally rebuilt, with records to prove it. The seller mentions that the car runs excellently, which is a testament to the quality of the rebuild. The engine is paired with an automatic transmission, making it a breeze to cruise around town or hit the open road. The exterior of this Cadillac is finished in a gorgeous burgundy color that's sure to stand out in any crowd. The black interior is a perfect complement to the exterior, creating a classic and sophisticated look that's synonymous with Cadillac's reputation for luxury. Now, let's talk about the condition of this 1967 Cadillac. The seller describes it as being in excellent condition, which is impressive considering the car's age. The odometer shows just 80,000 miles, which is relatively low for a vehicle that's over 50 years old. This suggests that the car has been well maintained and cared for throughout its life. The seller also mentions that the car has been upgraded with an electronic ignition system, which is a nice modern touch that can improve reliability and performance. It's important to note that while the seller describes the car as being in excellent condition, it's always a good idea to have a thorough inspection done by a mechanic familiar with classic cars. This can help identify any potential issues and ensure that you're getting a vehicle that's as good as it looks. The asking price for this 1967 Cadillac two-door hardtop is $11,000, which seems fair considering its condition, rebuilt engine, and overall desirability. Cadillacs from this era are highly sought after by collectors and enthusiasts, and finding one in such excellent condition is becoming increasingly rare. In summary, this 1967 Cadillac two-door hardtop is a stunning example of American luxury and style. With its professionally rebuilt 429 V8 engine, gorgeous burgundy and black color scheme, and excellent overall condition, this car is sure to impress anyone who sees it. If you're in the market for a classic Cadillac that's ready to hit the road and turn heads, this one is definitely worth considering. Just be sure to have it thoroughly inspected before making a final decision, and get ready to enjoy the ride of a lifetime. 14. We've got a real beast of a machine for you. A 1976 Chevrolet El Camino that's been heavily modified and is ready to tear up the streets. This isn't your grandpa's old work truck. It's a serious performance machine that's been built for speed and reliability. Under the hood, you'll find an LT1 engine and 4L60 transmission that's been sourced from a 1996 Impala SS. This modern power plant brings fuel injection and overdrive to the party, giving this El Camino a serious boost in performance and efficiency. The seller has also added a PSI engine tranny wiring harness, Racetronics fuel pump, and heavy-duty wiring kit to ensure that everything runs smoothly. To keep this beast cool, the seller has installed a big aftermarket aluminum radiator and a large B&M transmission cooler. The exhaust has been completely redone with a new dual setup that sounds absolutely incredible. But the modifications don't stop there. The suspension, steering, and brakes have all been completely overhauled with new components, ensuring that this El Camino handles like a dream. The engine, transmission, and body mount bushings have all been replaced, and the seller has even fabricated heavy-duty rear body mounts to keep everything solid and stable. Inside, you'll find a vintage air conditioning system to keep you cool on hot summer days, along with a JL audio speaker system and Pioneer deck for all your audio needs. The gauges have been upgraded with odometer units, giving you all the information you need at a glance. Cosmetically, this El Camino is a real head-turner. The seller has added an L88 Corvette hood scoop for a bit of extra aggression, and the car sits on new tires that look great and provide plenty of grip. Now, let's talk about the condition of this 1976 Chevrolet El Camino. The seller mentions that everything has been gone through and either rebuilt or replaced, which is a great sign. They've put a lot of time and money into this build, and it shows. The car has been driven about 2,000 miles since it was finished, with most of the drives being around 120 miles round trip. The seller reports that it runs perfectly, which is a testament to the quality of the work that's been done. The asking price for this heavily modified 1976 Chevrolet El Camino is $14,500, which seems like a bargain considering how much work has gone into it. The seller even mentions that they have much more money invested in the car than what they're asking, so you know you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. 15. We've got a real blast from the past for you. A 1974 Ford Pinto that's up for grabs on Craigslist. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Isn't the Pinto notorious for its safety issues? Well, let me tell you, this particular Pinto is a real gem that's been well taken care of and restored with a lot of new parts. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Pinto. The seller describes it as very solid and rust-free, which is a huge plus for any classic car. Rust can be a real killer when it comes to older vehicles, so it's great to know that this Pinto has been spared from that fate. The seller also mentions that this is an older restoration, so it's clear that someone has put a lot of time and effort into making this car look and run great. Under the hood, you'll find a 4-cylinder engine that's paired with a manual transmission. This combination is perfect for those who love the feeling of being in complete control of their car. The Pinto is a rear-wheel drive vehicle, which means it's got that classic muscle car feel that so many enthusiasts love. Cosmetically, this Pinto is a real head-turner. The seller mentions that it turns heads going down the road, and it's easy to see why. The blue paint job looks great and really makes this car stand out from the crowd. It's the kind of car that's sure to get you plenty of attention at any classic car show or meetup. Now let's talk about the price. The seller is asking $9,500 for this Pinto, which might seem like a lot for a car that's often the butt of jokes. However, the seller makes a great point. They've seen people selling trash for the same amount, and they're not asking a ridiculous $15,000 for it either. When you consider the amount of work that's gone into restoring this Pinto and the fact that it's rust-free and in great condition, the price starts to seem a lot more reasonable. It's important to note that this is a cash-only sale, and the seller is located in El Paso, Texas. They prefer calls over email or text, which is understandable. Buying a classic car is a big decision, and it's important to have a real conversation with the seller to make sure you're getting what you expect. In summary, this 1974 Ford Pinto is a real gem of a classic car. It's been well restored with a lot of new parts, and it's rust-free and in great condition. The blue paint job is sure to turn heads wherever you go, and the 4-cylinder engine with manual transmission is perfect for those who love to be in control of their ride. At $9,500, it's not the cheapest Pinto out there, but it's certainly not the most expensive either. If you're in the market for a classic car that's sure to stand out from the crowd, this Pinto is definitely worth checking out. Just be sure to give the seller a call and have a real conversation about the car before making any decisions. 16. We've got a real treat for you. A 1966 Dodge Dart that's been given a new lease on life. This car is a true testament to the quality and durability of Dodge's engineering from the 1960s, and it's ready to hit the road with its new owner. Under the hood, you'll find a slant 6-cylinder engine that's known for its reliability and efficiency. These engines were a staple of Dodge's lineup in the 60s and 70s, and for good reason, they're practically bulletproof. Paired with an automatic transmission, this Dart is a breeze to drive and perfect for cruising around town or hitting the highway. But what really sets this Dart apart is the amount of work that's gone into bringing it back to its former glory. The seller mentions that the car has been fitted with new brakes, wheels, tires, shocks, and interior. That's a lot of new components, and it shows that someone has really put in the effort to make this car look and feel like new again. The exterior of the car is finished in a beautiful blue paint job that really pops in the sunlight. It's the kind of color that's sure to turn heads wherever you go, and it's a great choice for a classic car like this. Now let's talk about the condition of this Dart. The seller describes it as being in good condition, which is always a positive sign. While it's not a perfect show car, it's clear that this Dart has been well maintained and cared for over the years. The odometer shows just 60,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age. That's a testament to the quality of the Slant 6 engine and the overall durability of these old Dodges. The asking price for this 1966 Dodge Dart is $14,500, which might seem a bit steep at first glance. However, when you consider the amount of work that's gone into restoring this car and the fact that it's got a clean title and a lot of new components, the price starts to make more sense. The seller also mentions that they're willing to listen to reasonable offers, so there may be some wiggle room on the price for the right buyer. It's worth noting that the seller is offering delivery for this car, which is a nice bonus. If you're not local to the area, You won't have to worry about arranging transportation for your new classic ride. 17. We've got a real beauty for you. A 1962 Studebaker Hawk GT that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This car is a true testament to the unique style and engineering that made Studebaker stand out from the crowd in the 1960s. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Hawk GT. The seller describes it as being in good condition, which is always a positive sign. They mention that the car has been well cared for over the years, and it shows. The black paint job looks sleek and shiny, and the chrome trim is in great shape with no rust. It's clear that someone has put in the effort to keep this car looking its best. Under the hood, you'll find a 350 Chevy motor that's been swapped in, which is a common modification for these old Studebakers. Paired with a TH350 transmission, this Hawk GT is ready to hit the road and provide plenty of smiles per mile. The seller mentions that the car drives, runs, shifts, and stops decently, which is a good sign that it's been well maintained mechanically. One thing to note is that the seller has listed the drive type as FWD, which is likely a typo. The Studebaker Hawk GT was a rear-wheel drive car, so it's important to clarify that with the seller if you're interested in purchasing this vehicle. The interior of the car looks to be in good shape as well, with no major issues mentioned by the seller. The odometer shows just 78,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age. That's a testament to the quality of the engineering and the care that's been put into maintaining this vehicle over the years. Now, let's talk about the price. The seller is asking $8,500 for this 1962 Studebaker Hawk GT, which seems like a fair price for a car of this caliber. While it's not a perfect show car, it's clear that this Hawk GT has been well maintained and cared for over the years. It's the kind of car that you can drive and enjoy right away, or use as a starting point for an easy restoration project. The seller mentions that this Hawk GT is a daily looker and a good cruiser for shows, which suggests that it's a car that gets a lot of attention wherever it goes. With its unique styling and classic Studebaker charm, it's easy to see why. In summary, this 1962 Studebaker Hawk GT is a real gem of a classic car. With its 350 Chevy motor, TH350 transmission, and well-maintained condition, it's ready to hit the road and provide plenty of smiles per mile. While the FWD listing is likely a typo, it's important to clarify that with the seller if you're interested in purchasing this vehicle. At $8,500, it's a fair price for a car of this caliber, and it's the kind of vehicle that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. 18. We've got a real blast from the past for you. A 1976 Oldsmobile Delta 88 Royale Coupe that's just come out of hibernation and is ready to hit the road once again. This car is a true testament to the style and power of American muscle cars from the 1970s. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Delta 88. The seller describes it as being in fair condition, which is important to keep in mind. While the car has been cleaned up and looks good overall, it's not a perfect show car. There may be some minor imperfections or signs of wear and tear, but that's to be expected for a car that's almost 50 years old. Under the hood, you'll find a massive 405 cubic inch rocket engine that's ready to rumble. The seller mentions that with some work on the airflow and carbs, this engine can be tuned to produce some serious horsepower. That's the kind of potential that will get any classic car enthusiast excited. The exterior of the car is finished in a bright metallic orange paint job that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. It's the kind of color that screams, "Look at me!" and is perfect for a classic muscle car like this. The interior is finished in a complementary beige color that looks clean and well maintained. One thing to note is that the odometer shows just 49,959 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age. However, it's important to keep in mind that odometers can be rolled back or replaced over time, so it's always a good idea to have a mechanic inspect the car thoroughly before making a purchase. The seller mentions that the starter motor was rebuilt in September 2024, which is a good sign that the car has been well maintained over the years. It also comes with some nice features like cruise control and electric windows, which are a bonus for a car of this age. Now let's talk about the price. The seller is asking $5,000 for this 1976 Oldsmobile Delta 88 Royale Coupe, which seems like a fair price for a car in this condition. While it may need some work to get it up to show car standards, it's a solid starting point for anyone looking to get into the classic car hobby without breaking the bank. The seller also mentions that the car can be sold with a Lubrico warranty of up to 4 years or 90,000 kilometers, which is a nice added bonus. It gives you some peace of mind knowing that you're covered if anything goes wrong with the car in the near future. 19. We're checking out this really interesting 1948 Plymouth Special Deluxe that's popped up on Craigslist for $9,900. Let me tell you, these old Plymouths have such a cool story to tell. This particular one is rocking its original straight-six engine paired with a manual 3-on-the-tree transmission. But here's the sweet part. It's got that bonus overdrive unit giving you essentially a 4th gear, which is pretty awesome for highway cruising. Looking at the seller's description and the 115,000 miles on the clock, this isn't trying to be some pristine show queen. And honestly, that's part of its charm. It's what we call a solid driver, folks. The owner's being straight up about it, which I really appreciate. They've put new tires on it, and all the gauges and lights are working, which is actually pretty rare for a car of this vintage. What's really cool about the 48 Special Deluxe is that it represents that immediate post-war American automotive period. These cars were built tough, and this one proves it by still running and driving excellently after all these years. For just under 10 grand, you're getting a piece of automotive history that you can actually use and enjoy, not just look at in your garage. The clean title is definitely a plus too. Sure, it might need some TLC here and there, most 75-year-old cars do, but for someone looking to get into classic car ownership without breaking the bank, this could be a really solid entry point. Just imagine cruising down the highway in this piece of American history, that straight six humming along with the overdrive engaged. 20. We're looking at a pretty sweet piece of American luxury, a 1969 Lincoln Mark III listed for $13,500 in Missouri. Let me tell you, these Mark IIIs are seriously impressive machines, and they're starting to get the recognition they deserve in the collector world. This particular example has 119,000 miles on the clock and comes with that legendary 460 V8 engine paired with an automatic transmission. The seller's being pretty straightforward here. It's a good running and driving Mark, which is exactly what you want to hear. All the electrical components are working, which is a big deal for these luxury cars. The gauges, lights, horn, and power windows are all functioning. Now, let's be honest about the AC. It's all there but isn't blowing cold, which is pretty common for these old luxury cars. That might need some attention if you're planning to cruise in the summer. But hey, at least all the components are present. The Mark III was Lincoln's answer to the Cadillac Eldorado, and it's got some seriously cool features like that iconic Continental kit-inspired trunk lid and that prominent Rolls-Royce-style grille. With the clean title and the seller's straightforward description, this seems like a solid driver-quality example of these increasingly collectible luxury coupes. For $13,500, you're getting a lot of classic American luxury car for your money. These Mark IIIs were built like tanks and absolutely dominated the road with their presence. Sure, it might need some AC work, but finding a running, driving Mark III with working electronics at this price point is getting harder these days. Just imagine cruising down the highway in this land yacht. That big V8 purring away. Now that's classic American luxury at its finest.